These headphones are 3 years old, but they're still one of the most talked about headphones on Reddit, YouTube. I mean, really pick a place. So, are the Sennheiser Momentum 4 wireless worth it in 2025? Yes. Well, sort of. Here are 3 things I really love about it, and 3 things that really aren't as great. Number 1, sound quality. When you take these into the lab, the first thing you'll notice is that they measure really, really well. And that's not by accident. Sennheiser has a long history, especially with the Momentum line of true wireless earbuds or over-ear headphones, of making really solid products that sound good. However, their weaknesses are usually someplace else. And that same thing is true here. You'll be greeted with a sound that has a little bit more bass than we would normally like to see, but in general, the mids are great, the highs are roughly where they're supposed to be, and really are fit to taste. You can also adjust this to your preferences if you use the app, whether it's the Smart Control Plus or the regular Smart Control app, but it depends on which firmware version you're using and whether or not you want to create a Sennheiser account. Now, you can adjust these to your own personal preferences, but it's a lot of trial and error, and I don't really have any presets for you because they change. However, you shouldn't have to need to do a whole lot out of the box, and if you do, well, that means your preferences are pretty divergent from what most of the products out there are going to sound like anyway, so that's not that big a deal. And I haven't even begun to talk about other advanced options that we'll hear more about later. So out of the box, without any adjustments, without any tinkering, modifications, or any of that garbage, you're gonna get headphones that sound really, really good. All right, number 2, the battery life. Good Lord, these things last forever. Now, obviously, this will change depending on whether you use ANC all the time, whether you use advanced features, spatial audio, you get it, In our lab test, though, these lasted over 55 hours. That's with ANC on, by the way. That is nuts, and it's not a figure that's matched by any other product unless you count the JBL Tor 1 M3. I mean, at 55 hours, who's gonna notice the difference between a few minutes? Nobody! The only caveat here is something that we'll mention in the negatives, but you are not really gonna have to worry about it too much. Number 3, the connection options. Now, you might have seen me in other videos knocking really well-attested headphones for things that seemingly don't matter all that much, like a lack of Auracast or not being able to listen over USB-C. Well, these 3-year-old headphones can do that. They have wired listening over USB-C and the normal TRS jack so that you're never without a way to listen to your headphones, which is important if you want to use these for both work and casual listening. You don't always know what you're going to be able to use your headphones with, and having the option in your back pocket is a really big deal. Because not a lot of people with wireless headphones have the ability to use a USB-C cable, they're not going to be aware that they can listen to lossless audio with something different, and the Sennheiser Momentum 4 wireless can do that straight out of the box. Alright, so I've glazed this up pretty good. But what are the 3 things that stick in my craw a bit? Well, let's start off with the first one. There are some really unexpected rough edges, and by rough edges I mean things that don't exactly work the way you think they will, or right out of the box. You can run into something weird, fix it, not think about it again, and just learn that it's a part of the headphones. For example, sometimes the touch controls just don't work when you first start the headphones on. You have to go into the app, toggle the touch controls off, and then back on, and then everything's fine. While that's not really a big deal, it's still annoying. Another thing, the band design. While the padding works, it's not a conventional band design, and the padding can sometimes get a little painful if you listen to the headphones for hours and hours and hours and hours on end, like on an intercontinental flight. The trouble is, though, is that you can't really pull it off or change it for something else, so that might annoy a few people. However, most ANC headphones nowadays don't give you that option, so it's really a moot point. Drawback number 2. The ANC was dated when it came out. Sure, a lot of headphones have really great ANC nowadays, and the Sennheiser Momentum 4 wireless is not one of them. They do okay. They get rid of most sounds pretty well, and I use this on the SkyTrain or the subway, and intercontinental flights with no issue. The problem is that it's not going to delete the world around you, and in fact, there's going to be a lot of sounds that make their way in by virtue of the fact that the ANC unit is just not as strong as something like the Apple AirPods Max, for example. Now, if you want hard numbers, these were able to reduce outside noise and loudness by about 76% across all the samples that we took, and Apple AirPods Max can do something like 88%. Sure, is 12% a huge gulf? No, not really, but it is noticeable. And that's the thing. These differences, while they may look huge on paper, in real life, they're not going to be as deal-breaking as they sound. Finally, number 3. These are old headphones, and they perform like it. There's nothing bad or wrong with that, but the truth of the matter is that aptX has moved on. Bluetooth has moved on. These have an older standard and they use older codecs, which are going to be left behind by the newer family of codecs that are enabled by Snapdragon Sound, like aptX Lossless. There's no LDAC, there's no other, quote unquote lossless Bluetooth standard. So you're going to be left wanting if you think that lossless audio is something that you need. Now, you could use the USB-C to USB-C cable in the very convenient travel case. But the problem is that if you don't want to be tied to a cable, you're going to have to settle for aptX or aptX HD, and that's just the long and short of it. And then there's also things like no Auracast or the spatial audio kind of weak. A lot of these things have to do with the fact that a lot of this hardware is, well, maybe not outdated, but it is pretty old. So with that, should you look at buying the Sennheiser Momentum 4 wireless in 2025? On sale. These regularly dip below $300, and in a market with the Sony WH-1000 XM6 seeing $450 at retail, or the Apple AirPods Max at $550 at retail, yeah, these are worth it to limp along until the Momentum 5 wireless comes around, or maybe something else better comes around that can suit your needs more specifically than a generalist workhorse set of headphones. Now, I will say that because these are so long in the tooth, it would not shock me if we got Momentum 5 wireless on the shelves by the end of the year because, well, they're due. And if that's the case, then not only will the price of these drop even further, but you might actually have a better option for your needs in the Momentum 5 wireless, so it's worth waiting either way. If you desperately need a set of headphones right now, there are plenty of picks out there that offer something over these headphones at trade-offs that may or may not be as palatable to you, and you can go check that out on our website down here. We can also give you all of the nerdy details like charts, lab tests, and other assessments that will help you get to the finish line maybe a little bit sooner than waiting for another product to release. But if you have instant gratification syndrome, we have a video just for you right up here. Go ahead and click it. We go over the top wireless headphones for summer 2025. Come on, you won't do it. You won't. Prove me wrong. Go ahead. Click. See if I care.